Good morning, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen across the world. We were just out for our walk this morning and we finished our walk and it's a lovely morning, so I decided, well, we'll carry on and have a ride out. Now, somewhere I've not been for quite a while is a place called Olenz Hall, and Olenz Hall is an old manor house that dates back to the 1320s, and I've not been up there for a while, and I did a video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some drone footage. If I've still got the video on YouTube, I'm going to put some drone footage. It was about 3 or 4 years ago I did it to show you what it's like, because most of these places it's a ruin, so there's only like the walls, the low walls that are left, and most places like that, once you're down at ground level, you can't really appreciate what they were like. But at least when we get the drone over the top, we can see what the footage is about, and it's a ruin, and it dates back to, the original dates back to about 1320, and it was left to go to rack and ruin in about 1900, and I think there were 2, perhaps 3 iterations of the original building in that time. At one point it was owned by Charles I of England, who rented it out to some lord of the realm or something like that. We're going down a country lane, there's lots and lots of cattle grids, there's runners, there's a man here running in the road because there's a footpath over on our right hand side, but they wouldn't run along the footpath because they've got to run in the road and make complete nuisances of themselves and get run over by cars coming the other way, like this van here that's probably going to run him over and put him in hospital. But he was about 80 years old, so it'll probably put him in a box, and there you go. And so we're coming out into the countryside, and this is the area right behind where we live. It's literally 2 minutes drive, and I've said this before, you get up here and you just get into this wonderful, wonderful countryside that goes on forever. And it's all twisty-turny bits. It's a very narrow road with twisty-turny bits. There's a hill on our right-hand side and fields, and there's woodlands and fields, and the sun is warm coming through the window. And Molly has already been for a nice little walk. There's little Molly, she's got a harness on, so I'm looking after her. And we're reaching the top now. This is the moors. And we're reaching the top of the moors now. And the sun is high, and the sky is electric blue, it's aquamarine, it's absolutely beautiful. This is the way I used to come over to my mother's, because she lived in Bolton, and you had to cross the moors to get from where I live to where she lives. And over in that direction is Round Loaf, which is a Neolithic burial mound that I've spoken about before. And the reason I'm coming out here is that there's something magic about old places, isn't there? Something magic about history. But I'm not talking about long ago history. I go over to Neolithic burial place called Pikestones quite often, and that gives me a buzz going there. But it's distant history, and we can only have so much attachment with distant history. Whereas this, going back recent times, you can kind of associate with it. You can sit on the walls and you can feel the energy from just 3 or 4 generations ago, and going back into the mists of time, but still relevant just 3 or 4 generations ago. And I like coming out here for that reason. And we're going to try to get out and do some filming and walk around the ruins. If we can't, I might just pinch some footage from my older video, because Molly herself she's getting old now, and they can't park near it, and it's quite a long walk from the car park to the ruins itself. So we'll see how we go on. But it's a nice little drive anyway. It's a nice drive in the countryside for everyone. And this is narrow little bridge here. And we're coming now into the little village of Belmont. You can see Belmont Church there in the distance. My uncle and my auntie are buried in that churchyard because my uncle was a lay reader at this church. He helped out with the services at this church. And pretty soon we're going to come into Belmont, and Belmont is a typical north of England, not an industrial village because it was outside. There was industry out here, there were cotton mills, but it's bigger now than it was. It was a small village, but it managed to keep itself going. It managed to pay for itself. It's managed to keep the locals in work. And this is the village of Belmont, and it's one of these little in and out villages. You're in it and then you're out of it before you know about it. Very quaint, very English, very nice. And then all of a sudden you're out of it again, flashing past high walls on our left hand side. Molly's now sitting up, taking in the views. She quite likes driving. She's always been a good dog in the car. She's never been any problem. The moorlands there with the sheep, and then reservoirs. There's lots of reservoirs here. It's a perfect area for reservoirs. So that's what we have. Lots of reservoirs, lots of moorland, and in the sunlight it's very, very beautiful. It's not that far actually to where we're going. It's only probably, I would say, about 20 minutes drive. And we're getting right out. And this old manor house, it's called Olenz Hall, but nobody knows whether it was Tockholes. Tockholes is the nearest village. It was a manor house for Tockholes, or whether it was a manor house for the hamlet of Hollingsworth itself. This is so the history of it is vague as well, which gives it an extra mystique and mystery. And these places are dotted all over this country, all over England. We have lots of them here in the northwest, where it's bleak and hard, and it's early in the year, so the grass is burnt by the sun. It's dry, it's crisp. The wind blows constantly in this part of the country, and this is right behind where I live. And like I say, this kind of countryside stretches all the way over into Yorkshire. And here we are, we've found ourselves a nice little parking spot, a little lay-by that I never knew was there, and that means it's cut the walk from the main road to the hall itself. It's cut it down by at least 50%, because we're walking down a lovely, pleasant little pathway now through the woods. There's pigeons in the trees, there's a little stream to our left, birds singing in the trees. It's a beautiful day. Molly is behind me. You can see the cars going past, perhaps, because we're just walking away from the main road now, and it's very pleasant. There are a couple of cars parked in the lay-by, so no doubt we may have company down here. But it's great. And one of the reasons I was saying is the connection to history, and it kind of does something to me. It does something. I get so much peace out of it. I get peace out of sitting on Pikestone's Neolithic burial ground. I get peace out of that, but this is a different kind of peace. I'm walking the pathway that will be so familiar to people not that long ago, 200, 300, 400, 500 years ago, will have walked down this same pathway from whatever hamlet was nearby. And this hall, it was lived in full time. It was rented out. Okay, it was part of a farm as well, because most of the manor houses in those days were farms as well. So it was a working farm, but a manor house. And it's got so much history. Like I say, Charles I owned it at one point. It's a beautiful little stream. These are all the runoffs from the moors the water from the moors drains into these little streams, then cascades down. And it goes down and down and down until eventually it goes into the reservoirs behind where I live. This is so pleasant. And then, like I say, we're walking in history. When we're walking down a path that people would have walked on and been on the horses as they went about the business a couple of 100 years ago, 300 years ago, and you can feel that affinity with them. When you sit on the stones of the buildings, you can feel it. It's not an abstract, it's not just writings in a book like a lot of historical places are. This is real, it's not abstract. You don't actually need to read anything or to look into history to actually know that this was inhabited by people like me, who had thoughts like me, who had emotions like me. It was just like me, but before cars. And it's like a history that's gone, but you can still feel it through the stones. It's a funny kind of sensation, but I'm sure that many people out there will recognise exactly what I'm talking about. It's recent history. You can close your eyes and see the people walking amongst those stones, within those rooms. I can see the walls of the surrounding building. Now, there's only one building that survives, and that's an old well house. The rest of it has just been pulled down 125, 130 years ago. Molly's right behind us. She's having a good sniff. She's never been up here before. We've come at it from the other direction, and we did a video, and it was summer, and I got eaten alive by little midgy things that nipped and picked at me. But I don't think it'll be as bad today. And pretty soon we're going to turn a corner and walk into the grounds of Olenz Hall. Olenz Head. How many times have I said Olenz? It's Olenz Head. There's a place round here called Olenz Reservoir, and I keep getting confused. I get confused very easily. And this is Olenz Hall. It's quite big, and when there are old photographs, now we'll put an old photograph up and you can see what it looked like. There's a gate there, and again this will be the frontage of the property, and when you see it now it looks so different than it did on the photographs, and you can see each individual room. Like I say, we'll put up some drone footage to give you a better idea. But here are each of the rooms, and when you sit here on these walls you can feel history. Going down some steps now that will come, this looks like, I think this was the main entrance hall. It's massive, it's absolutely massive. And we're walking down some steps now. Takes us into a network. If I remember right, I think this was like a buttery and stable area. This is where the food was prepared. And a grain, I think there's a grain pit here. Yes, it is. We're coming upon it now. And it's not that long ago. And you can feel the ghosts of the people who lived here. And it's in the middle of nowhere, and it gives me this buzz. It gives me a frisson, an electric feeling as I walk amongst history. It's one of those great feelings. As I talk about, my life is just feelings. My life is all about feelings and experiences and getting the most out of every feeling and every experience. And places like this add something to it. You can go somewhere and get a feeling for the place, for the nature. But when you come somewhere like this, you can get a feeling for the history, for the hubbub it would have been. a few hundred years ago, for the people who lived here. It always reminds me of a kind of Bronte-esque atmosphere, like Wuthering Heights. It goes back to about that time. And the wind whistles, because it's a very windy day today, and the wind whistles between the stonework and the trees, and it adds to the atmosphere and gives it atmosphere. I can see the well house over to my right, and there are daffodils growing there. Miles from anywhere, untended by anyone, just going about its business. But because it's up on the moorlands like this, the trees are stunted, the grass is stunted, because it's getting battered by the winds every minute of every day and every night, like it is now. It's like some kind of Edgar Allan Poe, M.R. James, H.P. Lovecraft setting, if you know who I'm talking about, that kind of romantic ghost story. It's like that, and it's very beautiful. It's got a weird, strange beauty because it's rolling. It's very rolling. The buildings are bleak. It has this bleak atmosphere, but the landscape itself is quite comforting and rolling. There's no jagged points, there's no jagged edges. It's just this lovely countryside that just rolls down from the moors above us and goes on into the distance behind us, over to the industrial towns of the northwest, and then the Irish Sea beyond. We're coming up to the well house now, well known for being haunted, the haunted place. It's padlocked up. Not that many people come up here, but it's padlocked up to stop people going in and wrecking it. And I've looked through the little gaps in the past, and you can just make out some kind of mechanism that they use for dragging up the water, because this is where they would have get the drinking water from. I don't know about bathing water, I don't know how often they bathed in those days. And here we are, the old well house, and somebody's broken the lock so we can actually go inside. Oh, well done them vandals. I don't know whether you can see anything in here. That's the well in front of us, can you see it? That's where the spring water would have come out of that little hole in the face. That was a face, and the water would have spewed out of there into the trough below. And this water is basically just water that drains off the hillside. It rushes down, it's never ending, it's always replete, because that's what it's like round here. Well, I never thought I'd get in here, but I have. Windows, a little black dog outside. Look at that door. That door goes back forever. And that's the well house. Well, the thing is, at least somebody's broken the lock, but at least they've not vandalised it inside. So, yes, let people have access by all means if they're going to respect it. And we walk back down now. It's only a brief visit. Like I say, we'll put some footage up to show you what it looks like over the top. Then you can see like the outline and the map of what the building was like. I'll give a little brief description of the history. But get out to places like this. Everybody's got this kind of history, because I'm not going too far back. We have history going back thousands of years, and we can visit it because it's still there and can still touch it and feel it and listen to it. But we also have recent history, and everybody's got that, and there's something comforting and nice about recent history when you can actually look back and think back to the people. You can almost, the people will have had the same accent, The people would have had the same features. The clothes would have been similar but more old-fashioned, just a different style. We wouldn't have had all the technology. That's one thing is the huge difference, is they wouldn't have had all the technology we've got, but it's worth getting out, even if it's just to a local church, a local old school, a couple of 100 years old. Even in more modern countries, you can get out there. The history is always history, and recent history is relatable history, and you can almost imagine the stories, and everything goes on there, and it's great. And that's all I wanted to do today, was just bring you out here, because it's a very windy day. So we're going to just have a sit on a little bench up here for 5 minutes, and then we're going to head back, because we've got things on today. And this is the wild moorland of the north of England, and it's cold and inhospitable, and people die up here in winter, but not now. But you can imagine, like Wuthering Heights, top Withings it is that Wuthering Heights was based on. It's just like this. It's bleak up on the moors. Why is it up here on the moors? But it was, because that's how people lived all those years ago. And I hope it stays here. I hope this stays here for a long time. I hope my grandkids can come out here. I hope people respect it. I really do. And we're going to sit down now on this bench that's dedicated to Seamus Brendan McGovern, because all the benches are dedicated to somebody. And we're just going to sit here with the sun on our faces in history. Sun on our faces, just sitting in the middle of somewhere that was at home, where people lived and died and were born and loved and hated and ate and drank and slept and laughed and cried, and it all happened here. And when they were here doing all that living, it was just normal for them, just like it's normal for us today. And then in the future it will be normal for people in a couple of 100 years after we've gone, because you just live in the present, and history is fascinating. Get out in somewhere, get out, just somewhere where you can touch stonework that's been touched by somebody else before. You can feel the emotions running through it, you can feel the history running through it. And that was all I wanted to do today. It's just a brief one. Well, not so brief one, I don't think, just to squeeze in a little bit of a diversion from our usual stuff. That sun is so warm. I'm just going to sit here until Molly decides she wants to go home. I hope you all have a good day, and we shall see you on the flip. Peace and love. The earliest record as to the origins of Olenz Hall appeared in a 14th century document. It recorded that in 1311 a John de Radcliffe, a member of the native Lancashire de Radcliffe family, was owner of 100 acres in the place called Olenz in Tockholes. In 1380 the manor of Le Holyhood in Tockholes consisted of 1 mesure, which is 6 acres or 240 square metres of arable land, 20 acres of meadow and 60 acres of pasture. In 1498 the manor was held by Sir Alexander de Houghton, a member of the noble Lancashire Houghton family of nearby Houghton Tower. By 1641 it had technically become the property of Charles I of England, before then being rented to an Edward Warren in 1662. Is recorded as paying 2 shillings per year rent. Now 2 shillings per year is the equivalent of the modern 10p or 10 cents. It was John Olenz who in 1776 almost entirely pulled down the original hall and remodelled it into the ruins of which we see today. The surrounding estate was sold to a Mr. Eccles Shorrock, a noted Darwin mill owner, in 1838, before the hall itself was sold to him in 1845. The property itself was left to go to rack and ruin in the early 1900s, was pulled down, and this is what we see today.